So I got a rant. Not about the movie. I thought the movie was okay, but went to put in the DVD in my Blu-ray player there. Wouldn't work. So I'm like, okay. So I look at the disc. It's a little bit. There's like some stuff on it. So I clean it. Put it back in. Still didn't work. Okay. So I put it in the bedroom Blu-ray player. Still didn't work. I'm like, what the fuck? All right. Why aren't you working? So I'm sitting there, I'm sitting on the couch, I go, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Am I going to start my next franchise? I can't do that. I'm in the middle of this. So I decided to try to find it somewhere else, streaming somewhere else. Looked on Tubi, it wasn't there. And then I'm like, wait a minute. X-Files. Just completely random, I just realized that, but X-Files Fight the Future, I watched it on Xbox, Movies and TV. So I found it on there eventually. I searched in Texas Chainsaw and I got the original, the second one, and the 3D one. Okay, so I typed in Texas Chainsaw Massacre and got nothing somehow. Then I just typed in beginning, and I found it after scrolling down. Was able to rent it, so here we go. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, just a little rant there. I don't know why it didn't work, but I'm gonna have to rebuy it. But I was able to watch it. Check it out. Hey, I'll put my face. I'll put your face in my face and go. Hold on. Okay, anyway, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. You guys should know by now my stance on prequels. I think they're unnecessary. But here's the thing. When I heard they made a prequel, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, a prequel to the remake, I'm like, you know what? That could work because I wanted to know more about the hitchhiker chick and what happened to her and her family. This has nothing to do with that. And I was kind of disappointed. I put it in, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, we start with the birth of Leatherface, or Thomas Hewitt, as he would be known as, at the meatpacking plant, where his mother dies in childbirth, and the owner of the meatpacking plant throws him in the trash. Gotta make you sympathize with your horror icons, I guess. He's adopted by the Hewitts, and I'm like, okay, this is starting okay. So we cut to 1969, and there's my first hiccup. I'm like, wait, this is taking place 4 years before the remake? There's no way that those events with the hitchhiker chick happened 4 years. She's been trapped there for 4 years. And I slowly started to realize that this has nothing to do with the hitchhiker chick from the beginning of the remake. They did what most remakes do and give us a nonsensical story that only it's only there to answer questions that nobody was even wanting the answers to. Specific questions like, how did Hoyt become sheriff? How did Leatherface get his first person mask? How did they become cannibal? How did Leatherface get his chainsaw? How did Monty lose his legs? How did Hoyt lose his teeth? All those questions answered to various degrees of success, I guess. satisfying. I don't know. Yes. But, yeah, so it was 1969. I was going to start doing a Kid Rock thing, but that's 1989. It was 1989. But, 1969, the main characters are Eric, who is going to be going back to Vietnam, and he demonstrates this by raising out of this pool with dirty water in it with the blade in his mouth. Apocalypse Now was a thing. And his girlfriend, and he's played by Matt Bomer, who you may recognize from such things as White Collar, or you may not recognize him from Traveler, the short-lived ABC TV series that should have gotten more than one season. Just saying. His girlfriend is Chrissy, played by Jordana What's-Her-Face from the Fast and the Furious franchise and The Faculty. And he has a brother named Dean, played by Taylor Handley, who you may recognize from movies like the Michael Keaton Jack Frost movie. He was Rory Buck in that. And he was in the Disney Channel original film Phantom of the Megaplex. And I saw him like, where do I know him from? And I looked up like, holy shit, it's the guy from Phantom of the Megaplex. And that's right, he was in Jack Frost. And yeah. And his girlfriend is Bailey, played by Deora Baird, who was in the Night of the Demons remake and Hot Tub Time Machine and Accepted. Dean doesn't want to go to Vietnam. He doesn't want to go in. He doesn't want to fight in the war. He's gonna run because I don't like war. I just saw that and had to quote it. I'm gonna run because I don't like war. But yeah. And right away I'm like, you know, they only put this in here so they can have Arlie Ernie, who was a real drill instructor, get all pissed and have a reason for his character to get all pissed and stuff like that. Which nowadays there's not as much of the you have to go to war thing, because a lot of people don't go drafting right away. They, you know, they have jobs and stuff like that. They have families, you know. So they don't always do that. But back then, you know, especially 69, you kind of had to. But, yeah. And so we got back to the Hewitts. Thomas Hewitt, Leatherface, who's working at the meat packing plant. And we find out it's going to get closed. So the guy comes in to fire him and calls him a name, but Leatherface doesn't do anything. But he does kill the boss and takes the chainsaw that just so happens to be sitting in his office. Ding! Question number one answered. How'd he get his chainsaw? There you go. So the sheriff, seeing this, goes to the Hewitt house and picks up Charlie, who is Arlie Ermey's character we know as Sheriff Hoyt. The sheriff in this is the real Sheriff Hoyt. And we know something's going to happen because Charlie was Sheriff Hoyt in the remake. So, when they find another face, real Hoyt goes out to deal with it, but Charlie comes out with a shotgun and shoots him and assumes his identity by taking his clothes and even calling himself Hoyt now. So, yeah, he's Hoyt now. Ding! Question number two. How did he become sheriff? He's not really the sheriff. And for some reason, he's just allowed to keep playing sheriff from 1969 to 1973. For 4 years. Without anyone else ever questioning it. I know they said the town's in a state of decay and it's kind of dilapidated, but come on. Come on. Meanwhile, our characters are traveling down the road, because of course they do. And they have a run-in with a biker chick who they met earlier in a bar, but she flags them down. But before they can pull over, they hit a cow. And somewhere, Rob Zombie was watching this and thought, I'm gonna put that in my shitty sequel. My shitty Halloween sequel. I'm gonna keep calling him Charlie. Charlie drives up in the sheriff's car, and I literally laughed out loud with this. Because he gets out, and the biker lady goes, "Well, thank God you're here, Sheriff." And he's like, "Well, I wouldn't say that," and it just blows her away. Or, "Are you sure about that?" And then blows her away. I went, oh. Honestly, that was like the best part of the movie for me because I really laughed out loud with that. It was, oh. Because of the car crash, Jordana What's-Her-Face was thrown from the car and she's somewhere else conveniently while the other three get taken in, especially after Charlie finds out one of them is trying to ditch the draft because he burned his card. His card did. So he takes them and... so much like the first one and most of the horror movies, it's dirty, gritty, grimy, but this goes the extra mile into grossness. And because not only was this in that era of the gritty, grimy horror movies, like the remake, like See No Evil, and like Saw, as Saw would continue, it would become more of the torture porn aspect, like that, and eventually Hostel, which is that I'm never going to review. This was borderline. I had to look away several times with this, especially the one where he cuts open Eric's arm and pulls out the tendons and stuff. I'm like, and like the whole time, Jordana What's-Her-Face is underneath the table getting blood dripped on her, and then later when they get back to the meatpacking plant, she's swimming in the tank of nasty ass pig blood and stuff. It's like, oh, why? Why do you need to up the gross factor? Well, after killing the sheriff, Charlie decides they're going to be cannibals from now on, and everyone else just goes with it. And it, as reasons go for deciding to do something, we're just going to do this, and we'll never go hungry again. And it's like, yeah, but you can't just go from eating regular food to people. There's going to be different, you think that you'd be building up to, or you always being cannibals, like the wrong turn things. But no, we just decided we're going to do it. To be honest, most of the reasons they give are very stupid. But the other two are, tied up or whatever. Dean is knocked out. And the other chick is knocked out. Bailey, she's knocked out and whatever. And she actually has her teeth knocked out too. But, so she tries to save... I guess she thinks Dean is dead, but she tries to save Eric. When she finds out Eric's dead, she tries to leave. But of course, just as she's about to walk out the fucking door, she hears Bailey crying, screaming. And I went, just walk away. Just walk away. Don't be like Jessica Biel in the last film. Just walk away. But this presents the perfect problem with prequels. We can't give any characters a chance. They have to make stupid decisions because none of them can live at the end of the film. This is a prequel. There is no tension. You don't care about the main characters in this because you know they're all going to die because they're never mentioned in the later films. Not even though, the Hewitts are getting beat up and, and stuff like that, it's not going to amount to anything because you've seen every single one of them in the remake. So there's no danger of them dying. There's no, oh my God, can our characters make it out? Because they're not going to. There's no tension. It's nothing. You're just sitting there going, okay, what is this? He's chasing you. Oh, you're beating him up. Okay. Nothing. No tension. And then, so she does get away at one point. Before this, I should mention, I guess. And then she does come back. But she gets away. And she gets the biker chick's boyfriend to come with. And this is the most stupid excuse for anything. So, the biker comes in and he shoots Monty in the leg and holds Charlie at gunpoint. Leatherface comes in and kills the biker dude. So because he's looking for his girlfriend, and when they show him Bailey, that's not who he's looking for. And even Charlie's like, oh, you don't want to see the other girl, but he's dead. And what is Charlie's solution to the gunshot wound in Monty's leg? Cut them both off. I'm serious. This is how he loses his legs, ladies and gentlemen. Not something falling on them, not something that would make sense. No. He's shot in one of his legs, and Charlie makes Leatherface cut both of the legs off. Pay no mind that he's been using that chainsaw to cut people up, and there could be some cross-blood contamination. This is 1969. This is before that was even anything known, right? And we know he lives, but how is beyond me. They wrap his legs up like they're wrapping up with meat. Are they going to eat his legs? Are they going to eat? Wouldn't it have been easier just to cut the bullet out and patch his leg? Why? Why do you have to cut his leg? It makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense at all. But, things from the remake where it's like, oh, they didn't directly copy everything. They tried to be more original with it. They didn't try to copy a lot of stuff from the original. This movie said, fuck that, we're going to do it. So we get the dinner scene, and it's the worst variation of a dinner scene. I would even prefer to watch the version from the next generation with the whole time. And this is just boring. It's boring, and they show that Bailey has her teeth knocked out, and then they slit her throat. So it makes no sense. And they claim that Dean is dead, but he's not. And they take Jordana What's-Her-Face away. But Dean comes to, and Bailey's able to escape not Bailey, she's dead. Jordana What's-Her-Face able to escape somehow. While Dean beats up the sheriff and knocks his face into the wood, knocking some teeth out. Although we only see one tooth, but he has like a whole thing, but that's supposed to be how he loses his teeth. There's your answer for that. Not that we needed it. T-Lady is in this for like a quick cameo, but why is she in this? Because she was in the other one, so they go back to the meatpacking plant, and that's where she hides in the thing. Dean tries to save her, but he gets killed by the chainsaw. And she gets away in a car. And you think she's going to survive, but this is prequel, so no one can survive. So Leatherface, the big burly bastard that he is somehow snuck into the car and is behind her, in the seat behind her in the car, and revs the chainsaw through her, causing her to crash into a real police officer, which is bullshit because they said the sheriff was the only cop left. Somehow there's another one? How does that work? They said at the beginning of this, the sheriff was the only one left and he was leaving. How is there another one? But they run into a cop who has stopped someone in traffic and they both get killed. And then he comes out and he recreates the poster where he's standing there with the chainsaw. And then, just to add insult to injury, they had John Larroquette come back and narrate from 1969 to 1973. A Hewitt family murdered, I don't remember how many people in what was known to be called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it's just like, okay, you didn't frame it like that, like you did the original, because it's the prequel. Why would you have that at the end? It just doesn't make any sense. Overall, I would say, if anything, this is not worth your time. It's not even middle of the road, because to me, I wouldn't rewatch this. I'm going to rewatch the remake before I rewatch this. But it doesn't frustrate me as much as The Next Generation. I'll tell you why. Because it's a prequel. And I knew going in that nothing that happened in this film was going to matter anyway. You know, I knew going in that I couldn't get invested in any of the characters. And I knew going in that none of our villains were going to be killed or anything. So I wasn't too disappointed with that. The biggest disappointment for me is that I wanted the story of the hitchhiker chick, and we didn't get that. We get this. There's some good acting in this, but it's gross. It's gory, which I like gore, but this is borderline torture porn, and it just... I like the Saw movies, but the later entries just get too much, you know. It's the reason why the only two I like to rewatch are the first two. And maybe Jigsaw, and maybe I'll watch Spiral again. I don't know, that was fine. But, yeah, this one's just not worth your time, I think. I don't know what else to say. I think that, I don't know, it had promise. Like I said, if they'd focused on the hitchhiker chick, I think it would have been better. But as it is, it's just not worth your time. So what are your thoughts on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning? Leave no comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.